Welcome to The Explainer. I am so pumped you're hanging out with us today because we're diving into something truly mind-bending. We're going to trace an absolutely extraordinary narrative, taking us from a quiet, ancient village right up into the infinite glowing expanse of the cosmos. We are focusing all our attention today on Enoch's cosmic spiritual awakening. We'll be looking at how a massive disruption in the very laws of the universe led one man to witness the deepest, most profound secrets of creation. So let's just dive right in and decode the cosmos. Listen to this. I, Enoch, saw the heavens open and lights descend that were neither of the sun nor the moon. I love this because it immediately drops us right into Enoch's first-person perspective. We're seeing this profound awakening directly through his eyes, The eyes of an older man whose life of quiet, deep reflection gets completely shattered by the arrival of something entirely unearthly.
Chapter 1: Whispers of the Watchers.
Okay, so before the heavens literally opened up, you really have to picture a peaceful, ancient Earth. This was a time when the world still carried the purity of its very first breath. Humans lived in simple villages under these endless skies, and the balance between humanity and nature was perfectly intact. But, well, that balance was also incredibly fragile. And interestingly enough, before anything actually happened, Enoch intuitively felt this strange pain in his chest. He sensed physical tremors, almost as if the Earth itself was tossing and turning, trying to warn humanity. This wasn't just your standard earthquake, it was a cosmic premonition. The natural world was sending up a red flag that an ancient, sacred law was about to be broken. And who exactly was breaking that law? Well, that would be the Watchers. These were celestial beings who lived way up on the unreachable peak of Mount Hermon. Their one and only divine directive was to silently observe the growth of fragile young worlds. No interfering allowed. But two of these beings, specifically Semyaza and Azazel, decided to break that silent vow. And why? Well, they became completely captivated by the rare light and beauty of human women, and they basically convinced themselves that humanity was finally ready for celestial knowledge. Which brings us to Chapter 2, The Fall of Balance. This celestial interference completely fractured the natural order of things. We've got a really clear contrast here regarding the knowledge these two watchers brought down. On one side, you have Semyaza, who genuinely sought to enrich humanity in a peaceful way. He taught humans how to read the stars, understand the shifting seasons, and improve their crops. But then, on the flip side, Azazel brought something much, much darker. He taught men the art of forging metal weapons and mastering fire for power. Azazel honestly believed this would bring humanity safety, but instead it just planted the seeds of dominion, fear, and inevitably war.
And this chaos spiraled out of control so fast. It's really like a domino effect in 4 rapid-fire stages. First, the Watchers descend and break their sacred vow. Second, from their forbidden union with human women, the giants are born. Third, armed with Azazel's guidance, advanced weapons are forged. And finally, stage 4, war is completely unleashed. Literally in the blink of an eye, that peaceful village life we talked about was eradicated by pure ambition and unearned technology.
And let's talk about those giants for a second. Nimrith, Arhan, and Damal. These beings were just entirely unnatural. Born of stars and clay, they stood as tall as trees. They possessed this immense, uncontrollable strength. They could literally rip stones right out of the earth. But here's the catch. Wisdom did not dwell within them at all. They were driven by an endless, ravenous hunger. They would devour entire harvests, turning what should have been a golden era of abundance into a completely terrifying age of scarcity. To make matters even worse, we have Azazel's dark gift. He actually taught desperate villagers a sort of terrible recipe. Mix dark soil, sticky resins, and yellow sulfur powder. The result? A devastating incendiary weapon. We're talking about a horrific fire that completely defied natural laws and literally could not be put out by human hands. What started as an offer of so-called protection escalated almost instantly into literal firestorms that ravaged neighboring villages and just fed off human suffering. Moving right into Chapter 3, Uriel and Divine Judgment.
So at this point, the macro consequences of what the Watchers did have reached the heavens. Divine intervention isn't just a possibility anymore, it's 100% certainty. To really grasp this judgment, we have to look at the Orhalim. Think of them as these luminous celestial guardians, whose whole job is to maintain the balance of life across all worlds. And leading them down to Earth was Uriel. Uriel is this being radiating calm strength, carrying an authority that literally requires no words. He arrived on the scene to enforce the supreme law of the cosmos, the exact law that Semyaza and Azazel had so recklessly thrown out the window. As you can imagine, Uriel's judgment was incredibly strict, and it altered human history forever. Those unnatural giants, Arhan and Damol, they were dissolved into blue smoke and ash by a relentless storm of supernatural lightning. Just gone. Azazel, who stayed arrogant and unrepentant right to the end, was bound in chains of solid light and entombed alive beneath a mountain. And then the final, ultimate decree. A global flood was ordered to completely cleanse the corrupted earth. Now, you might be wondering, why does this ancient myth even matter to us today? Well, I want you to really absorb this exact warning from Uriel. Knowledge granted without proper maturity is a poison disguised as a blessing. Wow. It is just such a profound, timeless human lesson. Whenever we grasp for unearned power, or honestly, whenever our technology outpaces our spiritual and emotional maturity, the very gifts we think are going to save us so often become the curses that destroy us. That takes us to Chapter 4, Journey to Ashtarah. While the earthly realm was facing its pretty grim fate, Enoch's personal story shifts in scale entirely. And I want to pose this question to you. What actually lies beyond the limits of human understanding? When Enoch boarded Uriel's luminous sphere, leaving his dying world behind as just a tiny blue dot in the distance, he was forced to confront that exact question head-on. He stepped into a reality that completely shattered human language and earthly logic. There really were no words for what he was experiencing. Just imagine seeing what he saw as he ascended. Enoch witnessed colossal columns of blazing fire twisting upward from unseen depths. He heard stars that actually sang in perfect harmony, pulsing in silver and gold. Singing stars. He saw torrents of pure light stretching like massive living beings across the heavens. In that moment, it hit him. Everything humanity had ever fought over down on Earth was nothing more than a tiny spark in an infinitely vast, deeply alive universe. And finally, Chapter 5, the ultimate cosmic revelation. This right here is the absolute peak of Enoch's spiritual awakening. Enoch's sphere finally arrives at Ashtarah, the radiant kingdom of the Creator. It is a realm of just unimaginable beauty. We're talking about a place glowing under 3 golden moons, with a colossal structure raised on top of a shining mountain where the stone itself literally pours forth light, and vast halls held up by columns of pure crystal. And right at the center of this incredible crystal hall stood El Elyor, the Creator. What's fascinating is that the source material doesn't describe this presence as a human figure at all. Instead, it's a formless being of radiant crystal essence wrapped in unfading fire. The light was so intensely powerful that it erased all physical detail. Enoch couldn't see a face. He could only perceive this infinite energy that literally exhaled life, wisdom, and deep compassion. In the presence of this ultimate cosmic balance, Enoch was tasked with learning hidden truths so that his legacy could eventually guide the survivors of the flood. And that brings us to the end of our explainer, leaving us with this incredibly haunting, provocative final thought from Enoch's testimony. Do not give life to what you cannot understand, for it will not know how to love you, but it will surely know how to judge you. Think about the blind ambition of the Watchers, the endless hunger of the giants, the destructive fire of Azazel. It forces us to ask ourselves, what are we giving life to today that we don't fully understand? It's a powerful question that echoes all the way from ancient myth right into our modern lives. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey today, and I really hope this sparks your curiosity to keep exploring